How's it going, guys? Nordy back with my review of Total War Warhammer 2. So, over the past few days, couple weeks actually, I've been working hard trying to complete the campaign and stuff like that for you guys, so I can give you a in-depth review, or as in-depth as I can get in this review. So, been working on that. Finally got to a spot where I think I can accurately give my opinion on the game. I'm gonna try, like I said, I'm gonna try to get as in-depth as I can. I might miss a few things here and there. If there's something that I missed that you wanted to know about, just go ahead and leave me a comment, and I'll go ahead and respond to that comment and tell you what I thought of whatever thing that you wanted to know about if I left it out of the video. But I'm going to try to get as in-depth as I can here. So we're going to split this up into four different topics. Battles, just like in general, the battles, the campaign itself, the multiplayer aspect, and just how the game runs. So, and then I'll go ahead and give a score for it. So we're going to start off with the battles. The battles are probably the main thing that draw a lot of new players into a game like this. They're really large and cool to look at. You got a whole thousands of different troops that you're trying to control, going up against a huge army of thousands as well. So it looks visually cool, but here I'm going to explain to you guys, a little bit about how they run. So let's get into that real quick. All right, so here we are on the battle map here, and I just picked the elves because I feel like they have a sufficient number of cool infantry units, the cool monster units to show off to you guys. So first thing I want to talk to you guys about in terms of battles is just how cool do the units look for all the different factions. And I gotta say, I love the unit models for this game for all the factions, really. I think Skaven is probably my favorite just because I like the Ratman a little bit, but I mean they all look pretty cool. You can see here most armies you'll have a general right here. I got just Tyrion. He's one of the legendary lords for the high elves, and then you got a few basically different infantry units. You can see the unit models here look pretty awesome. The elves kind of got this I don't know how to explain it without using Lord of the Rings, but like a basic Lord of the Rings elf vibe to them. They got pretty awesome infantry units. Here they got these two-handed axemen with lions on their armor there, which look pretty cool. Then you got their basic spear infantry. Every army has, well, I guess I shouldn't say every army. The Skaven don't really have a cav unit, but the elves, at any rate, have a cav unit. Actually, both elf factions and the lizardmen have cav units. So here's some of the elf cav units. You can have chariots in the elf army. Just some more basic cav units. You got your archers here as normal. All factions have at least some form of ranged unit. And then all factions also have what I think are probably the coolest things of the game are these monstrous units. So the elves have, they have a giant eagle, bringing freedom from above. They got their dragons. You can see here the elves have 3 different dragons to choose from, which are pretty awesome. And then they got some phoenixes as well, which are pretty sweet. And then the elves also have a one unit of artillery, which is the Eagle Claw bolt thrower here. So overall, I would say the unit design, or the unit models for all the different armies. I'm not going to show you all the different models because it'd take forever for every different faction. But overall, I'd say the unit models are excellent. I mean, you can just see if I zoom in here again, you can see some of the detail here on the guys. You can see the overlapping armor here. Their chest plates are all decorated. See the Phoenix Guard here have fire coming out of their armor here. They got these little wings on their helmets. So all the different factions, armies are fairly similarly styled like that with the nice armor detail. The elves, the face for the guys is, I mean, basically they're all clones of each other. I'd say the Skaven are the ones that are probably the most diverse. The lizardmen look literally the same, but if you go back into the lore, I guess, of the lizardmen, they all look the same when they come out of the spawning pool anyway, so it really isn't that big of a deal. But the elves definitely all look the same. They look like mirror images of each other, so maybe they could change the look, vary the look up from soldier to soldier, but overall I'd say they look excellent. And couldn't do much better of a job on the unit design. I mean, they all just look super awesome. I don't think there's a single unit in the game that I don't like the look of. So, unit design definitely awesome. Um, as for like the maps of the battlefield, I mean, this is just one example. This is a pretty plain example. It's just got a nice little hill here in the middle with a little settlement shrine looking thing. But there's a lot of other maps. You can see in the background, you got like mountains and stuff going on. There's a river over there, or a lake, I guess, with some other settlements going on over there. So all the maps have these like little cool things in the background. The maps themselves, I don't know, it kind of varies from place to place, like depending on where you're fighting. But I'd say overall the maps are pretty decent. So nothing really too bad to say there about the maps. They can get slightly repetitive at times on the campaign. Like there seems to be like one map per area in the campaign that you fight on. So like if you have like multiple fights in the same area, you're gonna have to fight on the same map over and over and over again, which kind of gets annoying. But if you don't fight in the same area over and over again, then really the maps don't get too dull. I mean, there's always something interesting to look at. So I think the maps are pretty decent. Then we're going to move on to certain battle mechanics. The first one I'm going to talk about is troop impact. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to switch to an example here for you guys. Alright, so here we just got an example of some different impacts of different troops and how they work. It's always been a problem of the Total War series, especially the Warhammer series, of people complain about impacts and stuff. You know, just how the oh, didn't mean to do that. Just how the how your units like if you can feel the charge basically when your units collide into each other. And with the right here, I just got a little lizardman army with a bunch of large units going into some high elf spears. With the large units, the impact is excellent. So let's just play here. It's going to play out exactly how you'd think it would. These units are going to plow into these high elves here. You can see the units are just kind of throwing around the high elves. I mean, this is exactly how you'd expect a like a 20-ton Triceratops looking thing. It's called a Stegodon, but 20-ton Triceratops looking thing. It's exactly how you'd expect it to run into a line of humanoid looking things. You know, just rip straight through them. So the impact of large units is excellent, but the impact of just regular infantry on infantry is still pretty lacking. So let's give you guys an example of that. Alright, so here we just got some high elf spear units, just a basic low-level infantry unit, but you're going to be able to see when these two forces collide, there's just not going to be much of an impact. You know, you're not going to see, I don't know how to explain it really without showing you guys, but you're not going to see like the visceralness of like the actual troops impacting like would happen in real life. So let's just watch this in real time here. You can see the troops are going to come up. They're going to come up, they're going to come up, and they're just kind of going to run into each other. I don't know, they just kind of like mesh into each other and just kind of blob up on each other, and there's really no impact. I mean, you would expect with, you know, with two guys run into each other with heavy armor and heavy shields that there'd be a lot more punch to the impact, but there's just not. I mean, they just kind of meld into each other. Let's see if we can see it again here from the rear. It'll just kind of be the same thing. I mean, they'll just kind of run in. I mean, there's occasionally you'll see a guy flying like that, but generally they just kind of meld into the enemy unit. There's really no actual impact. I think other Total War games like Attila and Rome did infantry on infantry impact a lot better. It still wasn't great in those games, but I think it was better than this game. It kind of makes the battles feel a little bit arcadey, which is I don't know, a criticism that a lot of people have of Total War Warhammer 1, and it's honestly, it still continues in this game. The impacts really haven't gotten any better at all. They're basically the exact same as Warhammer 1, so if you played Warhammer 1 and you're expecting better impacts in Warhammer 2, I'm sorry to say they're just not there. It's still basically the same. So impacts definitely could improve in future patches, or I don't know, if once Warhammer 3 comes out, I guess if they should definitely look at improving the infantry on infantry impacts, because they're just not there. You just don't get that punch like you would like you're expecting to happen when two lines of infantry collide. Like I said, I don't know exactly how to explain what it should look like, but I don't know. It's just like I said. It's just you're supposed to be able to feel a little bit more of a visceral punch when the two lines collide. So impacts definitely need to improve in the battle system. But let's move on to some things that I think are some more things I think are good. So let's move on to the next topic, which is magic. If you haven't played, if you played the other Total War games and you haven't played Total War Warhammer, they've implemented a like a magic system where you can cast spells on your opponents. Makes the battles a lot more, I don't know, a lot more tactical because you have to figure out when to deploy a certain spell to increase or to create the most, I don't know how to explain it, the most damage on your enemy and make it so you can win. Battle or magic definitely can turn the tide of many battles that you are losing. I've definitely won off the back of magic spells on countless battles. There's a couple in my my Dark Elf campaign. I got ambushed by a bunch of Skaven units, and if I didn't have Malekith's Chill Wind spell, I have a feeling I would have lost all those battles because, I mean, it just does so much damage. So let's show you guys an example of how magic can be used. All right, so here we got another, just a basic setup. I switched to the Dark Elves this time, but I'm still going against some High Elf Spears. All I have is Spear units as well, so pretty even fight. But I got Malekith here, who is a wizard hybrid with a wizard melee hybrid legendary lord, and I'll show you guys some cool magic spells. So let's just get another view of this this infantry impact while we can. Oh, that one looked a little bit better, but it's still, I don't know what they got to do to make it look better, but it could definitely I don't know, like I said, it just doesn't have that impactful feeling. But let's take a look at some spells here. So here we got Blade Wind spell. Let's just cast that real quick. Alright, so you can see there the Blade Wind comes out. It just kind of runs around and wrecks some troops. It's got a little bit of a random pathing, so it kind of went off the way there. But you can see there that the magic basically just made that unit break. If I can come around the side here, I'll show you guys the Chill Wind spell. I mean, just basically the spells, they'd help you in battle, and I mean, they just look cool, honestly. I mean, it's always fun to unleash a Blade Wind or like a Pillar of Fire on your opponent while you're fighting them. I think it just looks really cool and definitely adds to the cool factor of battles. Here's the Chill Wind spell. You see that one just has like a long line of I don't know, ice, I guess, basically, which just rips across the enemy line and helps you win the battle. Let's throw another Blade Wind in there, get another one of those spells. This one has a bit of a random path, like I said, so sometimes it can do nothing, and sometimes it can absolutely devastate your opponent. That one wasn't very good, but I think you guys get the point. I think they just look cool, and they definitely add a whole nother layer to the battles that you have to be prepared for. I mean, if your opponent has like a wizard, a really powerful wizard, you definitely have to watch out for that. Maybe try to take out that wizard quickly so it can't cause magic devastation to your army. So, and like I said, they just look really cool. I just love looking at all the different spells and stuff. So, magic definitely a plus. Next, let's talk about siege battles, the highly debated topic amongst the Total War community. So I'm not going to get too in-depth about the siege battles. If you want to have like an in-depth look at my opinion on siege battles, go ahead and look at my why I think Warhammer siege battles are better than other Total War titles video. I go in a lot more depth in that video. I'm not going to go in super depth here because I don't want this to be a 3-hour video. It's already going to be long enough as it is. So, but basically, my stance on the whole siege battle thing, you know, the vast majority of the Warhammer community thinks that the siege battles, or in the Total War community, think that the siege battles in Warhammer are severely worse than the other Total War games. And I just think it's not true at all. I think that the siege battles in Warhammer are, at the very least, on par with the other games. Maybe not better. Better might be a strong word, but at the very least on par. for simple things like the AI like puts up like a better defense on the walls. Like if you take Rome 2 for example, if you go into a siege battle against a AI opponent, the AI is going to leave like 5 units on the wall, and then they're going to leave the rest of their army into the town center to make you fight. You know, the vast, basically 70% of their army in a choke fight at the town center. Whereas in Warhammer, the AI is going to leave more like 70% of their army on the wall. So you have like an awesome wall fight, and then leave 30% of the army at the town center to end the fight in just a small choke battle. Whereas in Rome 2, for example, you have this very small wall fight and then a massive choke battle. And I honestly just don't find choke battles all that interesting. So that's the main reason why I like Warhammer siege battles a little bit better. A lot of people think that they want the larger settlement maps. You know, you can't really, like in Warhammer. Let me show you guys just like an example of the map here real quick. So you can see here, like if you're looking at this map here, the siege, the settlement itself is basically just like one section of the wall here. Whereas in like Rome 2, for example, it'd be an entire city surrounded by walls. People like to attack. They like the ability to attack the settlement from all sides of the wall, which I definitely understand. You know, it definitely looks cool to attack from all sides of the wall. But in Rome 2, like if you watch my video that I just mentioned, the AI doesn't actually defend the entire wall. Like if you attack from all sides of the wall, the AI is only going to defend one side of the wall. And then the rest of the sides of the wall that you attack, I mean, you basically just let the AI just lets you go onto the wall without any sort of fight at all. So there's really no point to attacking all sides of the wall. People will say, you know, oh, it's to be able to position your troops better when you get to the town center fight, so you can position them around the enemy and flank them from all different sides when you engage in that choke fight. But once you're in the wall, the AI doesn't move from the center at all. So you can basically just take one segment of the wall out and then basically just have your way with the entire settlement, because the AI won't move at all. So it's completely pointless to attack all sides of the wall when all you need to do is attack one side of the wall. And I mean, you basically have the game won from there. As long as you can win the choke fight, that is, which I absolutely hate choke fights. Anyway, and if you only attack one side of the wall, if you really think about it, if you only attack one side of the wall, then the area of the map that you actually use on a siege battle is no larger than this. I mean, you're only attacking one segment of the wall, and more often than not, the town center is, you know, maybe a street or two away from where that segment of the wall is that you attack. So really, you're only fighting in an area maybe a little bit bigger than this, but not by much. So it honestly doesn't bother me. In the siege, the defensive towers on the wall in this game, I think, are a lot better. They actually pose as a threat, whereas the arrow towers in the other games aren't exactly a threat. They're more of a nuisance than anything, which I definitely like about this game better. So honestly, I think that the siege battles in this game are just fine. I don't understand why people don't like them so much. But that's just me. Maybe you don't agree with me at all, and maybe if you don't agree with me, you're already turned off the video because you hate me. But hey, that's just my opinion. You can have your own opinion if you want. But if you're still watching after hearing that blasphemy, I know it's complete blasphemy to think sieges in Warhammer are just as good as the other Total War games. But moving swiftly on, now that we've talked about the battles a little bit, obviously didn't get too super in depth. I mean, the main thing, the battles are cool. I mean, if you like looking at the battles, you're gonna like playing the battles. I mean, they're super fun to play, especially, you know, if you got even armies. You know, you got that back and forth going on where it can go either way, and you know that one magic spell that you cast wins the day for you. I mean, the battles are just awesome in general. I mean, there's little gripes like the troop impact that needs to be improved a little bit, but other than that, I mean, the battles are pretty awesome. So I don't see very much wrong with the battles to label the game bad or anything like that. Like I said, if you like watching the battles, you're gonna like playing the battles. I mean, they're even more fun to play than to watch, in my opinion. But anyway, let's move on to the campaign, the thing that you're probably gonna be playing the most, unless you're some multiplayer elitist like some of the Total War YouTubers out there that only play online, which I can't understand because the only reason I like Total War so much is because of the campaign. But that's just me. But let's move on to the campaign. So let's go into a campaign map real quick. All right, so here we are in the Grand Campaign map. So first, I'm just going to give you guys a general overview of, what do you do in the campaign. There's two main goals that you can go for in a campaign. And they're listed right here. You can either go for the Vortex Victory, which is the main campaign that I think the developers want you to play. Basically, what the Vortex campaign is basically there's four main factions. There's the High Elves, the Dark Elves are over here, the Lizardmen, I guess they start kind of over here-ish, and the Skaven kind of start over here and over here. But basically there's four main factions: the High Elves, the Dark Elves, the Lizardmen, and the Skaven, and they're all fighting to get control of this Vortex in the middle here. And how they do that is they collect these resources right here. You can see this is what the High Elf one. You can collect for the High Elves these Waystone fragments. For the Dark Elves, you have to collect these scrolls. For the Lizardmen, it's plaques or ancient tablets. Sorry, and for the Skaven, it's a warpstone. Basically, how you do that is you capture these settlements here that have this ritual resource site icon on it. And then you build this building right here that gets you different resources per turn. And it'll, I guess it's not up here because this is at the end of the campaign. This is after I'd already beaten the Vortex campaign. But as you collect them, it'll fill up this meter. I guess I can, here, let me go into another campaign and show you that real quick. So here we are in my Dark Elf campaign. This is about towards the end, but not quite at the end yet. In the Dark Elf campaign, like I said, the Dark Elf resource is these scrolls of Herectai. I have no idea how to pronounce that, but basically, you just like I said, you capture these settlements here that have this resource icon next to them, and it'll give you scrolls per turn. You can see here, currently I'm getting 44 per turn. I have 4,063 at the moment, and I need 5,000 to start this ritual. You go through the different tiers here. At each stage here, you perform a ritual, and like once you perform the ritual, there's 10 turns until it completes, and in those 10 turns, you get a whole lot of nasty stuff that comes after you that I'll explain here in a little bit. But as you complete the rituals, you'll get like a little cutscene giving you the storyline piece by piece as you continue to go along until you get to the end. And then it all culminates in this is for every faction. It culminates in a massive battle here at the center here in the Vortex to gain control of the Vortex. So, and as you go along, the other factions will also be trying to gain control of the Vortex. You can see here the Skaven and the Lizardmen are way behind me, but the High Elves are slightly ahead of me in terms of progress towards the final ritual. So the other factions will also be vying for control for the Vortex, and you could stop them. Obviously, you can just send, I could just take this army here and send it over to the High Elf capital or the High Elf lands and start taking over all their stuff to start making them produce less Vortex resources. Or as they start a ritual, you have the option to spend money to create a AI-controlled intervention army to go attack them as well. Honestly, I'll get into the intervention armies later on. So you can lose this type of campaign. You can lose the Vortex campaign. Like, let's say I just let the High Elves get up to their last ritual before me, and I did nothing about it, and they completed it before me, then they would win, and I would lose the Vortex campaign. So you definitely can lose the Vortex campaign, which is something that really, I don't know, you really couldn't lose it was. I shouldn't say you couldn't lose because you definitely could lose in other campaigns and other Total War games, but it was a lot harder to lose campaigns in the other Total War games than it is to lose this one. When I was playing, when I was playing very hard, I definitely lost the first two campaigns that I tried to play because I couldn't figure out the correct way to go about gathering as many of these resources, these vortex resources that I could. So I definitely lost the first two campaigns that I played on very hard difficulty until I figured it out. Once you figure it out, it's not too hard, but you definitely can lose, and it's definitely a challenge at first to figure out the proper way to go about completing the rituals. But so you definitely can lose, but it's not the only objective. You can also go for the domination victory. You can see here it lists all the different objectives to completing the domination victory. Basically, it just means you have to destroy a bunch of different factions and then hold a minimum number of provinces to win the domination victory. Pretty straightforward, just like any other Total War game. So you can totally ignore the Vortex campaign if you want, but it's definitely recommended that you do the Vortex campaign because it gives you some cool little buffs and stuff like that at the end if you complete it. So, but we'll get into that later. But overall, I'd say the campaign is pretty cool. The Vortex campaign itself, let's just talk about the positives right now, and then I'll get into the negatives about the campaign. So, the Vortex campaign itself is, overall, I'd say it's pretty cool. The different cutscenes for the factions are pretty awesome. I mean, it's definitely a nice change of pace from just basically just having to conquer, having your only goal being conquer everyone and not really having anything in between that. So it's definitely a nice change of pace to get these little cutscenes and actually have a goal, like a I don't know, like a more direct goal that you're trying to accomplish than just conquer anything and everything you see. Like I said, you can do that, but but it's definitely nice to have a direct goal, and the cutscenes are very cool. But I don't know, it's not something that I think I would play over and over again. Like I don't think I'd like if I played the High Elves or the Lizardmen or the Dark Elves and Skaven again. I don't know if I'd try as hard to complete the Vortex campaign a second time. It just wasn't. It was interesting, but it wasn't that interesting. If that makes sense. I know that's kind of confusing, but I don't know. It wasn't like all the. So there's four factions, and three of them have like the exact same outcome at the end of the or have like the exact same storyline throughout the Vortex campaign. I mean, obviously, like the cutscenes are different, but more or less they're the same. And then the last one, I'm not going to spoil it or anything, so I'm not going to name what factions they are. But there's one faction in particular that the campaign is clearly directed towards, or is supposed to be for. Like the overarching story behind the campaign is heavily in favor of one faction over the other three. So it makes that faction's Vortex campaign significantly more interesting than the other three, which I think is a little bit, I don't know, I think it hurts the other three's campaign a little bit. Like, I played the other three before I played that last one, which definitely made me think for the first three that, oh, this is just going to be the same thing over and over again. And then when I got to the last one, I was like, oh man, this one's like a little bit different. Why didn't they do this for all of them? All the other three were pretty much the same. So I think they could have made the storyline maybe a little bit different for the three different factions. But as it is, I mean, it's not terrible by any means, like I said, but it would get a little bit repetitive if you just did it over and over again. So I definitely think I'll be going for the domination victory in future campaigns. But for like a first-time playthrough, the Vortex campaign is pretty cool, and it's definitely pretty fun. And maybe I'll play it again later on in the future once I have had sufficient amount of time in between the last time that I beat it. But I think I'll be going for domination victories again here in the future. So definitely could have improved a little bit on the storytelling for three of the factions. The one faction in particular, that Vortex campaign is excellent. I loved that one. The other three are a little bit samey, but overall not bad. But let's talk about the four factions in particular. So the four factions, like I said, are the Dark Elves, the High Elves, the Lizardmen, and the Skaven. So what I like most about Warhammer, in terms of like the campaign map itself, and the different factions, is like how unique the settlements are. So you can see here, this is like a example of a Dark Elf settlement. You know, it looks pretty cool. It looks sufficiently evil, like the Dark Elves are supposed to look. And if you come over here to a Lizardman settlement, you can see it just looks totally different, which I love. And if I went to go conquer this settlement here, then it would change from this like pyramid style to one of my one of my dark, fortress-looking thing style settlements, which I think looks really cool. It makes it a little bit easier to determine if it's a high elf or a dark elf or a lizardman settlement. So I definitely appreciate that. I think it looks super cool. Um, just like the uniqueness of the factions in Warhammer, I think is excellent. Like they all have super like completely different feels to them. Um, they all have like a little mini like mechanic in the campaign. Like the Dark Elves is like the slave economy. You can see here, gather more slaves, and the more slaves you have, the better income you'll get. But also, the more slaves you have, the lower your public order will get in certain settlements. So you got to watch out for that. You kind of got to balance it a little bit. Um, and then with like the Skaven, it's the Skaven corruption. With the High Elves, it's the political intrigue, which is like you can you'll get these points that are called political intrigue points throughout the campaign. You can use them. You can spend them on trying to improve your relationships with other factions, or make two different factions make their relations get worse between each other and go to war. So you can kind of like artificially incite wars that way, which is really cool. So just all the different factions, like little like mini objective, I guess, or mini mechanic, I think is really cool, and it makes them feel super different. And on the battlefield as well, I guess I didn't mention this in the battle section, but on the battlefield as well, the factions, with the exception of maybe the Dark Elves and the High Elves on the battlefield, feel pretty much the same. But the Lizardmen and the Skaven definitely feel way different than the High Elves and the Dark Elves. The High Elves and Dark Elves, like in battle, their main goal is to, I guess, mass archers and a smaller amount of higher tier infantry. Like their early tier infantry is pretty bad, but later on, like in the end game, they have just excellent infantry. So that's kind of like the High Elves thing. It's smaller quantities of more elite troops. The Skaven is all about. I mean, you can play the Skaven two ways. You can go for the my favorite tactic, which is I call it the Vermintide tactic. Basically, you just swarm your enemy with just completely overwhelming forces of crappy units. Or you could go the other route, which is using the superior artillery of the Skaven to whittle away at your opponent from afar, which I think is cool. And the Lizardmen are all about bringing heavy monster units into the fight, like Stegodons and Carnosaurs, and even their infantry are pretty tanky baseline infantry. So they're all about hitting you hard and doing the damage with that initial punch and staying power. So all the factions feel completely different on the battlefield. Like I said, with the exception of the Dark Elves and High Elves, they feel more or less the same. Also about the Vortex campaign, I didn't mention this before. The final battle, like inside the Vortex, I'm not going to like I said, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I don't know, it's pretty it's pretty lackluster. It definitely looks cool. Like when you first get into the battle, you'll be like, oh, this is awesome. But as the battle progresses, there's a certain mechanic in the battle that makes it just completely broken and way too easy. I guess is the right way to say it. I think the final battle could have been done a lot better. The first time I played it, I thought it was excellent because I didn't know about the mechanic that makes it super easy. But the second time I did it, the second faction I played as was the High Elves. So when I played with the High Elves, I figured out what that mechanic was, and I was like, oh wow, this is stupid now. Like I can just do this the whole time. So I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to get into spoilers, but it's a little bit lackluster in my opinion. They could have made it a little bit more epic, or at least just get rid of that mechanic. But anyway, moving on. So the difficulty of the campaign. The difficulty varies quite significantly from difficulty level to difficulty level. I've played it on all the difficulties now. I'll tell you, I've beaten the campaign on easy, I've beaten it on normal, I've beaten it on hard, and I've beaten it on very hard, but I have not yet beaten it on legendary because legendary is freaking insane. It is. If you play the actual Vortex campaign, it is so much harder than just doing a normal domination victory. Uh, if you're new to Total War, either easy or normal should be. I mean, easy and normal aren't that difficult. Actually, they're not really difficult at all for me. But if you're new to Total War, easy for sure won't be all that hard for you, and normal it'll give you a little bit of a challenge, but it'll still be manageable. For veteran players like myself, that have been playing Total War for years and years, I'd say very hard is probably the difficulty level that'll challenge you quite. It'll challenge you quite a bit. But if you want a little bit easier difficulty that'll still challenge you, hard is sufficient for me. It's still like I'm not going to lose on a hard level campaign. It's just not going to happen. But it's still going to offer me a little bit of a challenge. Whereas with very hard, I'm probably gonna win, but I might not. I definitely lost. I'll be honest. I lost the first very hard campaign I played in this game because I wasn't ready for what was about to happen to me. And I'll show you what happened to me here in a minute. But it gets in the early stages, you might get fooled. It'll be easy in the early, like the first 4 stages. It'll be fairly easy, especially the first 3. You'll be thinking, "Oh, this isn't hard at all." But once you get to the fourth stage of the ritual, it starts to ramp up. The difficulty level just spikes, just out of nowhere. Like on the fourth ritual, the difficulty level just skyrockets, and all of a sudden you're like, "Oh my God, what just happened?" As you lose all of your different settlements. So what happens when you do these rituals is a chaos stack. Like when the first one, a chaos stack will spawn just somewhere random in your near your territory to try to take out a settlement. Once you do a ritual, you have to defend 3 different settlements. So let's just say it's these 3. You have to defend. Chaos stack will spawn like over here and then come try to attack the settlement. So for like the first 3, you'll get like 1 or 2 stacks, and you'll be thinking, "Oh, this isn't hard at all. I'll just fight them off." But then once you get to like the 4th one, all of a sudden 5 come up, and you're like, "Oh my God, I was expecting 1 or 2, so you only leave one army over here to defend it." And then they got 5 stacks coming in while you only have 1. So that makes it really hard to defend. And then in the meantime, the AI can spawn those intervention armies to come attack you as well, which can get pretty brutal. So you end up having to deal with like 6 stacks of enemies just like in the heart of your empire, just raiding and raising all your settlements to the ground, and you're having to pull all of your armies back to defend your capital basically, and it just gets super hard. And then with the final ritual, like the difficulty level spikes with the 4th one, but then on the final one, the difficulty level it soars into space. Like it is insane. Like especially on very hard, like on normal and hard, it's manageable. But on very hard in legendary mode, like the difficulty level is insane. Like there is no way in hell that you're going to be able to hold all of your settlements and not lose like a single settlement when you hit this last ritual here. There's just no way. It can't be done. At least I don't think it can be done. Like I had to pull all my armies back into my main 3 settlements that I had to defend, and I just had to basically just camp them there and wait for them to come to me while the AI just raped and pillaged my whole land. And here, I'll just give you an example of that real quick. So we're going to switch to my Lizardman campaign, and I'll give you like a before and after, the before and after effects of the last ritual. All right, so here's my Lizardman campaign. You can see here this was right before I started the last ritual. You can see here I'm about to be able to start it. A few more turns and I'll be able to start it. I've got all this land here. You can see I got basically a little over half of what is more or less South America, and then I own all this land up here. So I've got a pretty decent sized empire. But watch watch what happens to my land here in a minute when I show you the after effects of the last ritual. So here is immediately after I won the campaign. You can just see here that I lost like a huge chunk of my empire here. I lost a couple settlements over here. I lost basically all the settlements in my my homeland. I'm severely in debt because of all the pillaging that happened in my lands. Like, it was straight up insane. I was getting attacked by like I think it was like 10 or 15 stacks of chaos, and then the AIs were sending their intervention armies. Like, it was straight up crazy. This is the first campaign that I actually completed on very hard, so I was not prepared for this at all. Like, I had no idea this was about to happen to me. And when I clicked that ritual button, all the chaos stacks like spawned right here. And when I saw them all, I damn near fell out of my chair. Like, it was insane. And then once you get rid of them all, at the halfway point, they all come back again. Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, I had to pull. You can see I got 3 stacks here, chilling in my homeland. I had to pull all 3 of these armies back into my homeland just to try to defend my capital here, which is like the main site where the ritual spawns from. One of the main settlements you have to defend. And I still, even with all 3 of my armies here, I still couldn't hold these 5 settlements here. And then I had a couple armies down here defending the other 2 settlements that the ritual site needed me to defend. And then other than that, I just left the rest of my empire just to be destroyed, basically, because there's no way I was going to be able to hold the massive armies that were coming towards me and the intervention armies that were getting sent to me. I mean, the difficulty level, like, if you're looking for a challenge, the Vortex campaign on very hard and legendary difficulty, like I said, I haven't even beaten it on legendary difficulty yet. That's how hard it is. And I've been playing Total War for years. I mean, I've never really had an issue beating. I mean, obviously legendary difficulty has always been hard, but I've always been able to beat it. Like, but I could. The first time I played a legendary difficulty campaign, there's no way in hell I was winning. Like, I wasn't prepared at all for what was about to happen to me. But so I still gotta work on that a little bit. But if you're looking for a challenge, very hard is definitely going to be a challenge for you. And even hard is still kind of a challenge. I mean, I was able to beat it on my first try, but it is still kind of hard. But definitely the difficulty spike at the end made this campaign super, super fun, and I loved it. I mean, I've never seen that massive of a difficulty spike in any of the Total War games, and I thought it was awesome. So yeah, the Vortex campaign, the difficulty of it at the end is pretty great. I loved it. Like I said, you can just see it. Like, I lost probably not quite half, but almost half of my empire, and I just got plummeted into debt. Like, absolutely plummeted into debt. But it was worth it. It was so much fun. I loved every minute of it. You can still see the damn Skaven here are besieging one of my settlements still. So that was interesting. But yeah, that was awesome. I loved it. Definitely, if you're new though, don't start off on very hard, because you're gonna get owned. It's not even gonna. You're gonna think the game is crap because you're just gonna get slayed. So definitely start off on like easy or normal if you're new to Total War. All right, so now we're gonna move on to some things that I find super annoying about the campaign, or I guess things that I find bad, right? All right, so the first problem I have with the new Total War Warhammer 2 game is something that I don't know. I guess I find the most annoying out of everything else, and is something that's been a problem like ever since like the very first Total War game I ever played. And it's something so stupid that I mean, they could easily fix it, but they just continue to neglect it. It'd be so easy because modders do it all the time. Like, there's plenty of mods to fix this issue. I have no idea why CA just doesn't fix it themselves, but it's the just absolutely just stupid AI recruitment. In their armies, they make up these armies that have just like the stupidest units in them, and it makes it just not fun. So here's an example of a AI army that just makes no sense to me. Like, look at this. They got 2 wizards, 3 of these freaking lore masters. They got 1 unit of sword masters of Hoeth, a couple hybrid archer spearman units, an archer unit, and then a whole bunch of cavalry and a couple of phoenixes. Like, I don't want to fight that kind of army. Like, it's so dumb. Like, it's just such a stupid army composition. Like, they should have a general, maybe 1 of these wizards, and maybe a lore master, maybe. And then the rest of it should be like maybe like 4 archers, and then the rest like infantry, like the sword masters of Hoeth, and then maybe 1 or like 2 or 3 cab units, only 1 phoenix, and then like a couple of these eagle claw bolt throwers. Like, it shouldn't. Like, the vast majority of AI armies are going to be, they're going to be either like this, where it's just going to be a conglomeration of heroes, archer units, and cav, or they're going to be, you know, super heavily cavalry focused, super heavily archer focused, or super heavy monster focused. Like, you never get a well-balanced army in like hardly any of these AI army compositions. Let's see if we can view one of these ones. See here, this is an army of literally all. I mean, it's not really an army, but it's literally like an army of all hero units. That's just 2. Here's one. This is an army that this is a faction I confederated with. This was the army that they had. Literally all all hero units, and then one horse unit, 1 cav. Is there anything else we can close by that we can view? Let's see here. Check out hers. This one's not bad, I guess, but it is really small, so. Here we go again. Here's Marathi, one of the legendary lords. All heroes, and then just a couple of random-ass units. It's just 1 unit. Here's a lizardman. You can't really see much in this army, but you can already see 3 hero units. Like, it's just so stupid. Like, the army should look like mine. Like, here's what an army should look like. You know, some spearmen, a few swords, some archers, a couple cav, maybe a monster or 2, and that's it. Like, they shouldn't be focusing on heroes and archers and cav. Like, those just aren't fun, and it makes me want to auto-resolve. Like, I won't fight this battle because it's just pointless. Like, I'm just gonna auto-resolve it because it's dumb. And basically what the AI is going for, I know what they're going for. They're building these units because it gives them the highest chance in the auto-resolve, which is another thing that's messed up. The auto-resolve in this game is not any better than any other Total War game. It's still gonna say that the AI has just a stupid, ridiculous chance at beating you when they really don't. Constantly, you're gonna be fighting fights where the auto-resolve meter says that you're gonna get crushed, and you're just gonna absolutely crush the AI. Like, it's just so dumb. So they definitely need to fix the army recruitment of the AI, and they need to fix the auto-resolve meter. Like, the auto-resolve is just way off. I can't tell you how many battles I won where the auto-resolve said I had literally no chance. Like, I can't tell you how many times I won battles like that. And then let me give you one more example of just something that is just absolutely absurd that an AI army created. All right, so look at this army. Like, look at all these war hydras. Like, this is just absurd. Like, all these war hydras, and then he's got a bunch of freaking goblin wolf archers, and then some squig herd. Like, but the main thing is, I mean, these goblin archer or wolf rider archers are absurd too. But look at all these hydras. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 freaking war hydras that are max level. That is just the most absurd army composition I have ever seen in all of my days playing Total War. Like, it is just ridiculously absurd. Like, the AI army recruitment is beyond dumb. I hate it so much. But I mean, sometimes they have cool army comps, but a lot of the time you'll get armies like that, like this, that are just super stupid. But there is mods to fix that. There's always a mod that I download that's usually called like Better AI Recruitment, and it makes it so the AI recruits more normal armies. So I definitely recommend getting that if you're gonna purchase this game. Um, let's move on to the next thing. All right, so this next issue that I have is really only a problem for one faction, and that's Skaven. So the Skaven have this little army ability, right, where anytime they attack, you can see here, you can read, you have a chance of ambushing the enemy army. So basically, I mean, it's a good mechanic. Don't get me wrong. It helps the Skaven, since they have weaker troops than any of the other factions. It helps them be able to win more battles with just one single army instead of always having to follow two armies around together to bolster the numbers. Which honestly I do anyway because I like the Vermintide tactic. But the ambush mechanic definitely makes sense. But the thing that I guess needs to be changed or is kind of a little bit broken is you can use that ambush tactic or mechanic to exploit the AI a little bit. So you can see here I'm being sieged right now by two enemy stacks here. So if I go to attack this normally, right? So I'd have no. I mean, I guess I wouldn't have no chance, but it'd be significantly harder for me because I'm having to fight both this army and his reinforcement army. But you can use this this ambush tactic to exploit the enemy a little bit. So you can just decline this attack, click on your guy again, and then make him attack again, and then just keep doing it. I got lucky here, but you just keep doing it over and over again until you get an ambush, right? And then the odds are much more in your favor of winning, because then now that gets rid of the AI's ability to reinforce the second army, and at the same time it lets you reinforce with an army as well in the ambush. So you can use this ambush tactic to exploit the AI pretty significantly. Like, there's basically no threat of any faction besieging a settlement of yours with more than one stack, because you can just keep attacking and declining until you get an ambush to where you only have to fight one of those stacks. So just something I found that was a little bit broken about the Skaven mechanic. I don't know, maybe just to disable that mechanic when the Skaven are under siege would fix that. But I mean, it's really not that big of a deal, but it does make the Skaven make sieges. Being under siege as a Skaven, it makes it a little bit easier than the other factions, because the other factions can't do that. You basically have to fight the 2, 3, 4, whatever stacks there is there, or you just don't attack and the enemy waits you out. So just a little bit of a issue I found with the Skaven, I guess. Easily being able to exploit the AI through that. So moving on to the next issue. So some of the smaller factions, I don't know, I think they get a little bit. I think the cheating that the AI gets to do in the higher level difficulty levels, like very hard and legendary, is a little bit too much. Like some factions, they'll have like one or two settlements, and yet they'll be able to field four full stack armies. And like, how are you gonna fight that? Like, it's ridiculous in my opinion. Like, if you can only, like, I can afford like 2 armies on like 5 provinces maybe, whereas the AI on 5 provinces could afford like 20 stacks. Like, it's just a little bit absurd to me that they can cheat that much. I mean, it does add to the difficulty factor, which I like, but at the same time, it's kind of annoying when you're fighting a faction that only has 1 settlement, but yet somehow they still have three fully equipped armies. It just doesn't make any sense to me. They should only be able to have 1. I could see them having 2, but really they should only have 1. I'd let 2 slide, but 4 is just ridiculous. And I see it with a lot of these smaller factions. It just kind of annoys me a little bit. It's really not that big of a deal, but it does annoy me slightly. Next up, we have the lack of naval battles. Like I said, or if you've played Warhammer 2 or 1 before, you'll know that Warhammer does not have any naval battles, and the trend there continues again in Warhammer 2. Honestly, I don't care that much about naval battles. I never really played them in the other Total War games. I always auto-resolve them anyway, but it would be nice, I guess, to have the option to fight a sea battle. Um, so the lack of a naval combat is a little bit disappointing, but again, to me, it's really not that big of a deal. If you were super into sea battles, though, then I can understand why you would not like that or would be turned off by that aspect of the game. I can definitely understand that. Again, it is annoying, but it doesn't really bother me that much. But I could see where you would not like that. Next up is the diplomacy. Really, nothing has changed in the diplomacy for this game. The AI still is wholly unwilling to do anything with you unless you are significantly more powerful than them or you're about to kill them. Like, like they don't want nothing to do with you. Like, if you're of equal standing and you're not like the same race as them, like they just want nothing to do with you most of the time. They won't accept trade. They won't accept an alliance. They won't accept. I mean, sometimes you'll be able to get a non-aggression pact out of them, but I mean, if they hate you, they pretty much just hate you for the rest of the game. It's kind of dumb in my opinion. The diplomacy could use a little bit of a revamp, and I mean, it's needed a revamp since like game one. Like the diplomacy has never been Total War's strong suit, but I mean, it does. I mean, it works if you're a Dark Elf faction and you're trying to ally with another Dark Elf faction. Then it works. Then they're a little bit more susceptible to trading with you and all that stuff, which I guess makes sense. But I mean, if you're Dark Elves, you can pretty much forget about ever having any sort of alliance or trade alliance or anything like that with a High Elf faction. Like, you can basically just forget about it because it's just not going to happen. Which I find a little bit annoying, but I mean, again, it's not a super big deal. And then along that same vein, I think that the Confederacy diplomacy option is slightly broken. You might think that sounds a little bit absurd, but this is just like a test game that I tried to play to see how much land I could conquer without actually having to conquer any of it. So basically, all I did in this campaign was I took these two settlements, and I took these settlements. And then the rest of my empire, which is all of this and everything down here, I got out of Confederacy. Like, all I did, I fought for like this one. I fought for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 settlements. All I did was fight for these ones right here. And then the rest of it, I just used the Confederacy diplomacy option to get the rest of it, which I think is a little bit absurd. Like, I shouldn't be able to amass that much land from a Confederacy. Like, it makes the conquering aspect of the game a little bit moot if you can just confederate to get, basically all the land you'll ever need. Like, like you can see here, I'm already almost done with the campaign, and I haven't really fought for like any settlements at all. And I'm on the verge of being able to confederate with this faction. I could confederate with the pleasure cult pretty much at any time I wanted to, but I wanted to get these ones under my control before I went for that one. So I mean, like I could have even more land if I wanted to right now, but I just think it's a little bit ridiculous that all I did was fight for these settlements, and then the rest of these were just basically handed to me. And I even have all these up here. Like, all of this was basically just handed to me, which I think is a little bit absurd. But again, it's not a super big deal, I guess. I mean, it makes sense that they'd want to confederate with me, I guess. I mean, I am the Dark Lord of the Dark Elves, so, I mean... But no, I think it's just a little bit dumb. Moving on, though, as for, like, the factions themselves, I think that the High Elves are a little bit... I don't know, I think they need some balance tweaking. Because as you can see here, like here I am on the, and this is a campaign just on normal difficulty, by the way. But here I am almost done with the rituals, right? And here are the High Elves, and here are the other two factions. Like, these two factions are like way in the dust. Like, I just left them behind long ago. But the High Elves are always just right there with me, and maybe even slightly ahead. And it's been like that for literally I've played 6 different campaigns now, and it's always the High Elves that are either slightly above me or just like right there with me, and the other two factions are like left way in the dust. Like, it's always like that. All 6 campaigns that I've played, that's how it's always been. So I think it's because that the High Elves, Lothern in particular, not really Teclis. Teclis starts down here, But Tyrion in particular, I think it's because they get to start on this island, and they really don't have any competition on this island. All they really have is one Dark Elf faction that starts up here, and then like the Scaling are over here, but really the Scaling aren't that big of a deal. And then the rest of this island is comprised of other High Elf factions that you can just confederate with. So it kind of makes the High Elf Tyrion campaign like really easy, because all you need to do, and it makes it easy for the AI too, because the AI gets the diplomacy bonus, the cheats to confederate with the other factions easier. So all they really need to do is confederate with those other High Elf factions, and they get control of this entire province, this entire island right here with so many different provinces on it that get them, a huge vortex campaign currency income per turn without really even having to work for it at all. And since they're on an island, I mean, it's really hard to attack this island. I mean, they're basically secluded up here alone, and I'd have to run across the seas to take them, or to start hurting them, and I'd have to, establish a forward operating base and everything. Whereas the High Elves, I mean, this is their home, so they can just bring everything to bear on me. So it just makes it really hard to actually to attack and punish the High Elves. Whereas with the Dark Elves and like the Lizardmen especially, the Lizardmen they start like right here, so they're like sandwiched in between the High Elves up here, and then the Skaven start down here, as well as some other like vampire factions and stuff like that. Like the Lizardmen are like sandwiched in here, so they're hardly ever at the top. The Skaven are usually the other faction that are usually slightly higher up, but still not quite as high up as the High Elves, and they usually start over here. So they have like the peninsula advantage, I guess. Like it's hard to attack them because they're on a peninsula. Can't really come at them from all sides. So, but the High Elves, I definitely think maybe need a little bit of a balance tweak, and maybe even just fixing that confederation option a little bit to make it so it's a little bit harder to confederate. Maybe that would do it, tip the balance a little bit, so the High Elves aren't quite as strong as they are, because they're definitely, as far as the AI is concerned, the High Elf AI is definitely the one that is the biggest threat to you. And then when I played the High Elf campaign, that was definitely the easiest campaign out of all of them to play as. So I think the High Elves need a little bit of a balance tweak, but again, not a super big deal, just a little bit of something that I noticed throughout the campaigns that I played. So that's about it for the campaign, and all the good and bad things that I thought were important enough to share. I mean, there's obviously other good things that I could talk about, like the climate setting here that makes it so certain settlements are harder to take, or like the different little ruins that you can scavenge. There's these little things in the sea here that you can go up, and it'll give you certain buffs that I think are excellent additions to the game, but I didn't think they were super important enough to spend a lot of time on, so I didn't really mention them that well. The other thing I wanted to mention though quick is just the campaign map, like the beauty of the campaign map. Like the regions are so diverse. Like you got these like black mountains here where the Dark Elves live in, which look cool. As you move further up, you got like the snowy peaks here, which look awesome. And then if you move further south, it starts to get into like lush jungles and stuff like that, which look really cool. And then over here in basically what is Africa, over here is basically like a lush jungle. And then when you move further up, like this part of Africa is just like a desolate wasteland. So like the locations and like just the look of the map is just amazing. I just wanted to share that with you guys real quick. I forgot to share that in my sections I thought were good about the campaign map. So the visuals of it are top notch. I love it. It looks excellent. One other quick thing that I wanted to mention that is a positive about this game in terms of the campaign, your campaign experience, is the ability to name your generals. So you can see here I got Malekith. He's just the normal legendary lord, and then like in his army here I got like a death hag, and I renamed it to somebody that I know. Then I always rename one general to me, so I got High General Nordy here, the High General of the Dark Elves. I just think it's really cool that you're able to rename both generals and just regular lords in your game to different different people that maybe you're friends with or you care about in your life, because it gives you that extra emotional attachment to the generals and heroes in your army. I mean, it means 200 times more to me when High General Nordy here gets slain in battle than when if he was just a random faceless general that had some name that I didn't care about. It just means way more to me if I die on the battlefield than if I don't know what's the name of one. Than if Corvishish Beastbinder died on the battlefield. Like, I don't care if this person dies, but I care if Nordy dies because that's me. I know a lot of people probably I don't know, they probably save scum so they don't ever lose a general, but the way I like to play is if a general dies, then he's dead. So it means a lot to me when one of my generals or heroes die, and it makes me want to go get revenge for them, go kill the bastard that that killed that general or that hero. So I don't know. I just love that aspect about the Total War campaign in Warhammer, just being able to rename your generals because you get to form that emotional attachment to them that you wouldn't get if it was just some randomly named general or hero. So, and I also quickly want to I like for the Dark Elves and the High Elves in particular. I like that you're able to recruit like female generals and female heroes because I got a lot of female friends too, so I like to rename generals as them, and it adds a little bit of variety to the campaign map as well. You don't have just a bunch of dude generals. You can throw a girl general in there every now and then. So I think that's also cool that you can have female generals when you're playing as the elves. So it's also another good thing about the about Total War Warhammer that you don't get in the other Total War games that I thought I would mention for you guys. All right, so now let's talk about multiplayer just really briefly. I'm not much of a multiplayer guy, so I'm really not the guy to ask about multiplayer. I very, very, very rarely ever play multiplayer in Total War. I'm usually all about the single-player grand campaign style. But I definitely do like that they implemented free-for-all battles. I think that is a major plus. I think free-for-all battles are like the funnest battles in any Total War game. So I'm super glad that they brought those back. Other than that, I don't play multiplayer enough to really know the nuances of it, so I can't really say much else about that. So I like free-for-all battles. I really don't have anything bad to say because, again, I don't really play multiplayer, so I don't really know the good and bad things about the other Total War games to to comment on that stuff. So a plus for free-for-all battles. Everything else, I really don't have much of an opinion on. Now let's just move on real quick to how it runs. For me, it's run pretty much flawlessly. I've only had the game crash on me one time so far. I've been playing for, I think I got like 150 hours so far, something like that, 130 I think. I've only had the game crash once. So that's not terrible. I think the only reason the game crashed that one time is because I was I was playing the game, I was watching a video on YouTube, and I was trying to upload something to my YouTube channel. So I think my computer just couldn't handle all that stuff. I think that's why it crashed. So I don't think that was the game's fault. I've never really had any like frame drops or anything like that. Everything's run real smoothly. I do have a pretty nice computer. I can't really speak to it on lower end computers. I got a GeForce GTX 1080, so I got a pretty decent graphics card. So I guess I don't really know how it runs on lower end graphics cards, but on mine, on the 1080, it runs flawlessly. I've noticed a few, I don't know, like on like the snowier maps, the AI, or not the AI, the units will look a little bit odd. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, they look a little bit pixelated. So there's definitely maybe some ironing out to do on the winter maps, but other than that, everything else looks phenomenal. So I think it runs pretty awesome. Like I said, it only disconnected on me once. All right, so that's pretty much all my thoughts on the on Total War Warhammer 2. Overall, I think it's an excellent game. It definitely has its issues, which it pains me to to have to rag on it a little bit when I was ragging on it in my things that are bad part, because I love this game. I love it so much. Um, but I also need to be fair when I'm giving my rating here. I want to give it a 10, but it's not 10 worthy in its base state. It's just not worthy of a 10. It's got too many issues. The AI recruiting issue is like a major problem in my opinion. It makes some of the battles just not fun at all, which is like a main part of the game. So like if the AI recruitment directly leads to having less fun battles, then that is a major flaw that needs to be addressed. So I can't give it a 10 as much as I'd want to. Um, so with everything in mind, everything that it does good and everything that it does bad, I'm gonna give it a solid 8 out of 10 in its base form, with no mods, without I mean maybe if the mega campaign, maybe if that's just super awesome, maybe go up to a 9. But I'm gonna leave it at an 8 right now out of 10. um, Basically just like the flaws I think are enough to bring it down 2 points, but I don't think it's enough to make it a 7 because everything else in the game is just excellent. So I'm gonna leave it at an 8. And with mods downloaded, then it's easily a 10 out of 10. Like if you download the mod for the better AI recruitment, and then just maybe some other visual mods to make units look cooler, stuff like that, then this game is easily a 10 out of 10 with mods, and mods are free, so I'm gonna give the base vanilla game an 8 out of 10, and then the game with mods, I'm definitely giving a 10 out of 10. So, um, but that being said, that's a 10 out of 10 for me. It's highly subjective. If you don't like the setting, like if you don't like the fantasy aspect of the game, then definitely you're probably not going to like this game because it's all about fantasy battles. So if you're more of a historical kind of guy, then maybe check out one of the other Total War games like Rome 2 or Attila or something like that. I won't knock you for it. I mean, I love the historical titles as well. I just like fantasy a lot too, so it's definitely a highly subjective rating. And again, all this stuff that I've been saying, it comes from somebody who, I mean, I think I would consider myself a veteran of Total War, and I think anybody else would too. I've been playing the Total War franchise since like literally the day Rome Total War 1 came out, which is like what, like '03 or something like that, maybe '06, I don't remember. It was a long time ago. I mean, ever since Rome 1, I've bought every single Total War game, piece of DLC and expansion that's ever come out for any Total War game. So, I mean, I've played it all. I've played every single iteration of Total War there is, including a lot of the mods. So, I mean, I've got a lot of experience in Total War. It's definitely, I don't know, it's probably my second favorite game franchise like of all time. My favorite game franchise of all time would be Command and Conquer because that's the first game I ever played. But this is definitely a very close second. I absolutely love these games to death, and I mean, if you're somebody who hasn't played Total War before and you're considering picking up this game, I mean, like I said, if you like the setting, if you don't like the setting, then the game's not going to be for you. Like, for example, I don't like the setting of Attila Total War, and even though I love Total War games, I just don't like Attila because I hate the setting. It's just not. I only played that game for like 70 hours because I just don't find the setting interesting at all. So, if you don't like the fantasy setting, then this one isn't for you. Pick one of the other games that you like the setting of. But I think fantasy is probably my favorite setting, so that's why I love Warhammer so much. So the setting is definitely it definitely impacts how much fun you're going to have in the game, is whether or not you like the setting or not. So like, like the story context, like the fantasy battles versus like historical battles. So definitely if you're into the fantasy thing and you've never played Total War game before and you're considering buying it, I'd say go out, get it right now. You're not going to be disappointed. I mean, I've already sunk, like I said, over 100 hours into the game, and with Warhammer 1, I sunk like 400 or something like that hours into that game. So, I mean, Total War is a great game, man. You're definitely going to get your money's worth. There's plenty to do, plenty to see. I mean, you'll want to play the campaigns over and over again. I mean, with Total War Warhammer 1, I think I played like 5 Empire campaigns. Just one faction I played like 5 different campaigns with, so I mean, there's always something new to do, something new to try out. It's definitely a lot of fun. I promise you won't regret it at all. Like I said, maybe just download a couple of mods that help out the AI's ability to be a little bit smarter. But other than that, I think you'll have a great time. The difficulty for like the veterans of Total War, I think this might be the hardest Total War I've ever played. Like I said before, I've never been challenged like that. I've never had my whole empire get just ravaged like that before. So, like, I've never been that far in a campaign and then have my half of my empire just absolutely demolished and then get sent super into debt. Like, that just never happened to me before. So, I think for the veterans, this is probably the veterans that like a challenge, I should say. This is gonna be. I think you're gonna have a lot of fun with it because I thought it was awesome. Like I said, I'm a glutton for punishment, so I mean, I thought it was a lot of fun. I'm still trying to beat it on legendary difficulty. I can't seem to do it yet. I'm sure I'll figure it out eventually. But for the veterans, definitely you're gonna love this game. You know, if you're on the fence, if you've been playing Total War for years and you're on the fence about Total War Warhammer 2, it's worth it. I guarantee you're not going to be disappointed. It is sufficiently difficult. Very hard it will challenge you, and legendary will definitely challenge you. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's a good game. Like I said, 8 out of 10, 10 out of 10 with mods, and I mean when the mega campaign comes out, maybe I'll make a short little video about how I feel about the game once the mega campaign comes out. You know, when they combine Warhammer 2 and Warhammer 1 together. Maybe I'll make a video about that as well. We'll just have to see. But as it stands, I'll give this game base form, vanilla, Warhammer 2, an 8 out of 10. Again, if there's anything I missed that you wanted to know about or wanted to know how I feel, just comment it below, and you know, I'll give you a detailed comment back about how I felt about whatever that aspect of the game is, or if I think it needs to be improved or something like that. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to give you my honest opinion. None of this is coming from like a fanboy perspective. I mean, this is pure honesty here. I'm not trying to dupe you or anything. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm sorry if it was a little bit scattered and disorganized. This is my first game review ever. I had a lot. I mean, this is a huge game. There's a lot to talk about, so I forgot some things along the way. I tried to reel back, so I'm sorry if it was a little bit scattered. Like I said, I'm very new to this, so. But hopefully you guys liked it. Hopefully you found it interesting. Hopefully you were able to make your decision one way or the other if you wanted to buy the game or not. And yeah, to all the people who are waiting for me to make another either Skaven or Dark Elf campaign, I'm sorry I haven't made one in a while. I've been busy trying to complete the game. That way I could get this review out in a timely manner. I'm about to go on a week-long vacation here in a couple days, so I wanted to get the review out before then. So I'll definitely do the Free for All Fridays battle on Friday, but then after that I probably won't have any content out for about a week because I'm going, like I said, I'm going on a vacation for a week. But then when I come back, I'll start hitting it hard again. So sorry if you've been waiting for a while for any of those campaign videos. I've just been trying to balance my schoolwork and get this review out as fast as I can. So again, apologies, but anyway, thanks for watching, guys. If you want to leave a like, comment, or subscribe, I'd greatly appreciate that. If not, if you want to, if you hated the video, if you hate me, if you hate everything I talked about, go ahead and leave a dislike. I will not get butthurt about it. And yeah. Again, thanks for watching, guys, and I will catch you in the next one. Semper Fi, guys. Nordy out.
Shoot with a mind, kill with a heart like Arctic ice.